what I've done before on the GS 2005 model. You may remember I took all the exhaust pipes off and sent them down to a company who ceramic coated them. They were just immaculate. So I'm going to do the same here because they're in a bit of a state. And now the issue is that you have to take the Lambda Sensor, the little analysis unit that checks the gases for your catalytic converter. It's quite easy on the 1200 GSs because it's out on the outside. Here you see it's deep inside, right at the branch of the collector box, if you can see it. What I thought I could do for a minute is pull the collector box off and then unscrew the sensor from it, but you can't do that because you would twist the cable, and these are pretty expensive parts. Hayes manual says trace the cable back from the Lambda sensor and uncouple it under the tank. Look at your wiring diagram to find out which cable it is. You may as well ask me to fly to the moon. But actually, here it is, the right hand side, and I've got to cut these cable ties, and once I've undone this, pull it through. I don't know how it's going to go through all of this, but I've been able to trace the cable all the way back down, and it goes under the bike. To be able to free up the sensor a little bit, I'm going to have to cut some cable ties. That one's doing nothing. So you've got two little tangs here. I put my gloves on because it's amazing how dirty these things are. I don't want to break these off. And there we are. So now all of that has to go through. Don't ask me how. That's a big unit, and the other end doesn't come off. Well, I've given up. I cannot see how this goes out anywhere. It's too tight to go anywhere. You think it would go through there, but it doesn't, and it won't go any further. I wonder whether this end came out, but it doesn't appear to be. I'm sure somebody will tell me. You're not telling me you have to take the complete airbox out and everything that's involved just to take this one cable out. So forget that idea. I've come up with something else. And it can stay where it is as far as I'm concerned. Just hope we don't have to replace it. So this is what I've done. I've very gently pulled this collector box off the header pipes, soaked it in WD-40, and it's come off with the silencer because I can't get the silencer off. But now it means I can unscrew the Lambda detector, which I need to do anyway. And if I'd done it with all the cable clipped up, it would have twisted around and around. Now I've got plenty of length and I can twist the cable with it. So I'm doing it in reverse. And it should work. This requires a 22mm spanner. And it may not be that easy because it's tightened to... There it is. And you can see the difficulty. If I turn it, I've got to keep going around and twisting the cable, which I'll do. And there is the Lambda detector. Now the head of the collector box can be taken out. Here is the silencer. You see that why I like to get them off. The inside version of the bike is absolutely filthy, and it can all be cleaned up now. But what a job I had getting it off. This, I don't know whether this comes with the silencer, but it's got its own clamp on. Only way, I had to use a Dremel and saw the clamp in half. It was solid. Now normally when you've taken off the collector box or the Y piece and the silencer, you're just left, of course, with the header pipe and the cross section of the header pipe. Although I've undone the middle clamp, I can't pull the pipes apart until I just take it off the cylinder head. Now I've done about 4 or 5 of these bikes. Some of them, the studs have broken, but normally at this stage I just pull off the header pipes. Maybe a light tap with a nylon hammer. They are as if they're welded on, and the only thing I can think, because this flange here fits flat, it doesn't go into the engine, it fits flat against a gasket. So the only thing I can think is that the studs have rusted totally into the flange. But how do you pull it? How do you... You've got no physical means. I've hit it in this U-bend with a large nylon hammer. Nothing but nothing moves. It's not as if there's any movement at all from both cylinders. I've got to come up with, devise some method of a puller to be able to pull this, and I've got to heat this to some incredible degree. I've been thinking so much about how to do this, because there's no way that you can pull the exhaust pipe. So the exhaust pipe goes like that. And it's this flange here where my problem is. I can't get it off the 2 studs. I need to pull this way. I've tried hitting it with a hammer here, but the energy is dissipated. It's just not, the physics aren't right to be able to release it. If I could have a more direct method of pulling it out like you would get on a puller. So I'm wondering if I use an exhaust clamp, which I know fits and has a bolt there, and then I make a part, 2 plates with a bar across there, and that is tapped to 14 mil, and I've got I think it's called a puller, a bearing puller, with a sliding hammer here that you hit against the stop. So if I then heat this is all very theoretical, if I heat this really hot and then immediately slide this slide hammer back, that gives it the shock it might need to break it off what I believe is the studs. Maybe not. But that's what I'm going to try and make and put together. So watch with interest. Scouting around the workshop, I've not got very much. This is stainless steel, about 3mm thick. That could make my supports, and then I've got to turn that down, and that's trapped between the 2. You'll see this. It's trapped between the 2 stainless steel bars, which are bolted onto the clamp, and this is the slide hammer. They come as a kit with all sorts of attachments for removing bearings. I've had it since I built the Cafe Racer many years ago. They're ever so cheap on eBay or Amazon, and you can see the principle. What I'll do is take off this 14mm bolt, and drill and tap 14mm into this brass bar, and then you hit it. It's a reverse hammer. That impact. Here is the exhaust clamp in rough position, and I want to take this bar either side to create a jig that will take the slide hammer. The first thing I want to do is saw 2 pieces of stainless steel. Easy, eh? So everything on the milling machine is 0, so I know exactly the position I am. Now I've got to move the table 45mm to drill the hole at the other end of the little plate. And by doing it this way, then of course I can guarantee accuracy. 45. Stainless steel being very hard of course. Next is 8mm holes, both sides I think, so that these become 2 plates that can take 8mm bolts to secure it. I just need to turn the brass bar that I've got, just a little bit of it, flat, and then I've got to cut it off at 35mm. Now just cutting the bar to the right length. This is called parting. Now I'm just going to tap an 8mm hole through the centre to take the side bolts. Let me show you so far where I am with this. You'll get the idea now. The next thing I'm going to do is to mill a flat on this centre brass bar, so I've got a better purchase. The flat will just be better than going into the circle. With milling, I start cutting very slowly. I'm just coming down. You can hear now it touching the piece. I'll make one run. And back again. I think you can see that flat is being created. A bit more. I just want a flat so that I can drill the 12mm hole in. This is a 12mm tap in. Well, you can see the idea. So at this stage it works. You see the just been thinking overnight about this. I don't know whether the camera is picking it up that well, but you can see the stud. The stud's in very good condition. And around the stud, I can see another circle. And it's like this on all 4 of the studs. It's almost as there should just be a hole in the flange that the flange slots into. But it looks as if there's been an insert put. The thread is screwed into. I may be totally wrong, and I'd be interested in what anybody says, but I just wonder whether they found during the bike's life, they've tried to take the manifold off and they've damaged this flange somehow, and they've put an insert in here. So that's like another bolt, because this should easily have come out. It should have come out with my hand. I should have been able to pull it out. The force of that slide hammer should definitely, and the heat, it should have just come straight out. So something is amiss. And that would be like another bolt if it's been screwed in as a thread insert that you can get if there's any damage to threads. So the only way would be to drill it out. Drill out all 4 to be able to get this off. But all I wanted to take this off for was to get the pipes ceramic coated. The amount of work to do that is not worth it, because the pipes are good in themselves. I don't have to take them off. What I can do as an alternative is clean and polish the pipes and forget the ceramic coating. So that work of making a puller, well, these things happen, don't they? Maybe it'll help somebody one day somewhere in the world if they genuinely are stuck. Look forward to any comments.